Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Maple Conservative Girl podcast. My name is Danica, and today I want to talk about how Canada is facing serious economic challenges. We've got recession concerns, we've got affordability concerns, we've got a housing crisis that still hasn't been solved, despite Build Canada Homes, which has been around since September. We've got productivity problems, we've got investment leaving the country, and yet somehow, according to a lot of media coverage, the real story isn't the economy. No, the real story is Pierre Poilievre. Apparently, we're supposed to be talking about whether Pierre Poilievre is benefiting politically from bad economic news. Is he smiling too much? Is he criticizing the government too much? Whether he's somehow responsible for pointing out the problems that Canadians are experiencing every single day. And isn't it fascinating? Because when a government is in power and the economy is struggling, shouldn't the focus be on the people making the decisions? Shouldn't the focus be on the government? Instead, it feels like a lot of the political conversation has shifted towards analyzing the opposition rather than holding the government accountable. I'm also going to talk about a Reuters article that came out this week about Mark Carney's trade strategy and the reality of Canada's dependence on the United States. Because for months, Canadians were told that the future was diversification. That was the thing that we absolutely had to work on. We were told elbows up. We were told Canada needed to become less dependent on America, and now reality seems to be setting in for these liberals. Canada still needs CUSMA, Canada still needs investment, Canada still needs access to American markets, and suddenly the conversation is starting to sound a lot more like Fortress North America than elbows up. I'll also talk about the contrast we're seeing between Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre and what their visions are for the future. While Carney is traveling abroad and deepening relationships with allies in Europe, whatever the heck that means, Poilievre has been in Alberta making the case for a united Canada at a time when Western alienation is growing and the separatist sentiment is back in the headlines. That's a contrast. One leader is looking outward, the other is looking inward. One is focused on Canada's place in the world, the other is focused on Canada's place within itself. And I think that's becoming one of the defining political debates in this country. So we've got a lot to get into. If you like this episode, please share with somebody and subscribe. I love seeing my channel grow. My goal is 1,000 before the end of the year. Feels doable. But anyways, let's get right into it. Canada's economy is struggling right now. Canadians are worried about housing. They're worried about grocery bills. They're worried about losing their jobs. But according to mainstream media, that's not the story. The story is Pierre Poilievre and whether he's smiling too much or criticizing too much or benefiting from the bad news of the recession. They're literally criticizing him for doing his job. In other words, don't look at the economy, don't look at the failures of the government, no. Don't look at the recession. Look at the guy talking about the economy, talking about the government failures, talking about the recession. That's what matters more. Can you believe it? Canada is entering a recession, but don't worry. The important thing is making sure that the opposition isn't looking too happy about it. The important thing is making sure that Mark Carney looks good, even though he is failing us Canadians and not living up to his promises that he made to us during the election. We were supposed to grow at speeds unimaginable, and us conservatives, we know it's all BS. But that's what he promised, and Carney was supposed to be an economic genius that would save us from the crisis that he helped put us in by being Justin Trudeau's economic advisor for 4 years prior to becoming prime minister. But let's all just forget about that one, right?
Don't see there are no signs as of today that the job reports and the CD House statement is going to, change the tactic of the opposition. They have an ad out using generative AI to have people in lines for food and losing jobs, attacking Carney on the whole thing. I mean, what do you make of how this will get traction or won't get traction with voters out there?
Well, I don't think it's going to give traction to Pierre Poilievre. So Fred said, going around acting like the sky is falling. That's one thing, but being gleeful and happy that the sky is falling, which is kind of the vibe that he gave, especially in question period, not a great thing. So he said that a week ago today that it was a full-blown recession. I think he forgot to tell the labor market. And if he's blaming the prime minister for what he says is a full-blown recession, is he also going to give him credit for the 88,000 jobs? Highly doubtful. So for somebody that said his economic credentials were better than Mark Carney's, he is not burnishing them with these actions and how he's handling it. On Wednesday, he's been complaining that he wants the prime minister to be in the House more. So during Wednesday's question period, Pierre Poilievre repeated again and again the same question. Is it a full-blown recession or is it technical? Well, wait, you told us, Mr. Poilievre, on Friday that it was a full-blown recession. So this is what, I can't use the word that John Turner called it, but baloney theater is what John Turner used to call question period. And here's a ripe example of it. And after a little while, I think the prime minister was just thinking that this is kind of useless. But what I was also thinking about watching the faces behind Mr. Poilievre is, yeah, there are people that are hurting out there. And the people that represent those people are on all sides of the House. Some of them are sitting behind Poilievre, and they would probably like to have some real questions asked. Like, there is places where they could go. I know the Prime Minister is frustrated by the money not going out the door fast enough.
Oh my God, where do we even start? This is the Liberal on the panel, but as you'll see, they're all attacking Pierre, even the Conservatives, saying that he's cheering the recession, saying the sky is falling, that he's saying the sky is falling. It is falling, okay, for a lot of Canadians. Maybe not for him, but they're so out of touch with us rural people, us Conservatives, the people living paycheck to paycheck, the single moms, the dads who have a family to support who are losing their jobs because Mark Carney does not want to get a deal with the United States, right? Like, they just don't get it. He says it's justifiable that Mark Carney's attendance in the House of Commons be at like 28% because Pierre Poilievre keeps asking him the same question. Well, maybe if Carney actually answered the question, maybe he wouldn't have to ask it more than once. The Liberals always word salad their way out of a question, and for people who don't actually watch the House of Commons debates and just see this on the CBC, they might think that Pierre is, he's cheering on the recession. He's not. And listen to the apparent Conservative on the panel.
This is resonating with voters, this argument over trying to say that Mark Carney caused all of this.
I think I said it last week, how it's dangerous politics to be going out here claiming the sky is falling. When in a month's time or 2 months' time, when the next numbers come out, it shows that it isn't. It was a week later. We're here a week. The job numbers are better than they were last quarter. We have the CD Howe Institute coming out and arguing, another economist saying it's not a recession. And it's problematic when you choose to go down that road that Poilievre has chosen to go down so aggressively, almost like he's rooting for a recession. I understand partisan politics very well. I'm a tribal conservative. I want to win the next election. 3 years before an election, screaming that the sky is falling every week is not how you do it.
The sky is falling, and he's calling it out. He's calling out the failures of this government, and the media is attacking him for calling out the failures of the government. Like, make it make sense. We are in a recession. The stats don't lie. He's not cheering on this recession. He's, yes, jumping on the opportunity here. That's politics, right? Like, he wants the Liberals to admit that they have driven us into a recession. I mean, they've been the ones in power for the last 11 years, but apparently this is a new Liberal government, right? But with the same ideology. A country where the media attacks the opposition rather than the government is a country where free speech is under threat. Does this sound like he's gleeful about the recession?
My question for the Prime Minister is about the human cost of Canada being the only G20 country in the recession. Zara from Toronto lost her administrative job at a real estate business. She can't find a new job and now has to sleep on a friend's couch. What's the Prime Minister going to tell her if he cares enough to stand up and answer? Is he going to tell her that she's just technically homeless and technically jobless?
I'd like to wish the Chief of the Opposition, Leader of the Opposition, a happy birthday. I hope his day improves. The government is focused on building a stronger economy.
This is not a joke. This is a woman's life. This Prime Minister gave us the only recession in the G20 and he stands up and starts joking about her state of affairs. She's sleeping on someone's couch, Mr. Speaker. Will the Prime Minister stop being so flippant about the suffering that he's caused in the lives of Canadians and tell Zara, is her homelessness and joblessness just a technicality?
Pierre Poilievre is standing up for people like Zara. And the Prime Minister actually laughs at the fact that Canadians are suffering, like he cannot even hold it together. He was literally laughing, like couldn't even keep it in, at what Pierre was saying about Zara, who is just one story amongst millions. But the media is straight up lying to Canadians about how Pierre is gleeful, right? He does not look gleeful, okay? It's Mark Carney who is literally laughing at people sleeping on couches. What the hell is wrong with these people? Pierre Poilievre literally turns his whole body towards Carney and tells him, this is someone's actual life story. Like, this is not a joke. And you're sitting there laughing at what you have caused? And Carney, in his answer, you'll notice that he doesn't address Zara at all. He cracks a birthday joke and doesn't even answer the question. What a bunch of losers. Now look at another one on CTV.
I do think you have to lay some, plant some seeds. But I also largely agree with Scott that the seeds they're planting are the wrong ones in terms of tone. I think you want to be pointing this stuff out, but with like sadness and regret, with a solemn tone, and put the focus on delivering results. Where I think that's where the Carney government is going to be. To Tom's point, more vulnerable over time if they don't actually get the resource projects done, those sorts of things. I think that's a better vector of attack, because I think the one that they're on right now looks like Poilievre is applying to be a-hole in chief. And I just don't think that's the way to get more popular with the public. It doesn't improve your favorabilities to look like a jerk all the time. And I think he's at risk of doing that.
A-hole in chief. The Conservative, the apparent Conservative, on the panel calling Pierre an asshole. Like, do you want to get a Conservative in government? Like, do you want them to get elected or not? Pierre Poilievre is calling out this recession along with all of the stories that he hears from actual Canadians every day, while Mark Carney is out traveling the world doing absolutely nothing. People are suffering here on the ground. The domestic problems that we had a year ago have only gotten worse. I have not seen Pierre Poilievre be gleeful. I've actually seen him have major sadness and regret. And this Conservative, is a fake Conservative on the panel. How do these people like the tone of Mark Carney, who literally bursts out laughing because he cannot hold his glee in when he hears about Zara losing her job and sleeping on couches? And why have him as the Conservative on the panel when he doesn't criticize Carney at all? He says, I agree. Like, he agrees, everybody. He has nothing to say to counter that. He agrees with the Liberals and the NDPs. I mean, he's just going to bash Pierre Poilievre, right? Well, Conservatives, real Conservatives, we don't agree that Pierre is laughing at the recession and happy about it. We can see that he's actually not. Get a real Conservative on one of these panels. It's almost like they had a Zoom meeting talking about how they're going to attack Pierre. You see how they all say he's gleeful, his tone, the sky is falling. Attacking the opposition for pointing out the failures of the government rather than focusing on discussing the fact that we are in a recession and as a result Canadians are sleeping in tents on couches, losing their homes, lined up at the food banks, losing their jobs and their hope in Canada. Why don't they talk about that for once? But according to these people, bought and paid for by the Liberal government, $1.4 billion, according to them, calling out the government's incompetence and ignorance is a bad thing. It's worse to do that than actually being incompetent and ignorant.
Point to wage growth in the country being higher than inflation, and that's broadly true for the top 60% of earners, not for the bottom 40% of earners. So there's still like a real affordability crunch there. But when you still have those challenges and an acknowledgement that the economy is struggling, and you're the opposition, and you see like the Leger poll this week, Liberals have 50% of decided voters. You know, more and more Canadians think they're on the right track. I mean, how do you calibrate a response to that?
It's incredibly challenging. Keeping in mind, we had a very, very unpopular Trudeau government that was replaced by a new Carney government, and as a conservative, we could sit here and say, oh, still liberals, same old liberals, same cabinet, same staff. Canadians aren't looking at it that way. They see Carney as a new player because he wasn't involved in the Trudeau era.
So, according to the Conservative representative on the national broadcaster, Carney had nothing to do with the last Trudeau government. Except he fails to admit that Carney was Trudeau's economic advisor. Like, do people not put two and two together? He is not new. Like, there's nothing new about this guy. He's been around. He's been Trudeau's economic advisor. But to liberals, it seems like that doesn't matter. Like, that just goes right over their head. Like, who cares? Imagine your house is flooding, water is pouring through the ceiling, and your neighbor runs over and says, hey, your roof is about to collapse. And you turn around and say, why do you want my roof to fall? Like, that's essentially where we are. Like, it doesn't even make any sense. Another example is if you get your car checked out and the mechanic tells you that you need to fix your brakes, and then you start yelling at him saying that, he's cheering for your brakes to fail. Being the opposition is Pierre Poilievre's job. Pointing at the failures is his job. Just because the mechanic tells you that you need to fix your brakes doesn't mean that he's cheering for you to get into a car accident and ride off into a ditch somewhere. It's actually the opposite. The mechanic tells you to fix your brakes so that you're safe on the road. And yes, to make money, obviously, but the media argument is so stupid.
The government is rich and the people are poor. These problems echo through history. Some of my earliest memories are of my parents losing their savings, a home and 2 little rental properties that my mother, who's here with us today, saved up. There she is. For any of those who don't know, she's the mayor of Shaughnessy. Shaughnessy, the neighborhood where we grew up. We moved there, though, after we lost our home in Deer Run, and she lost her 2 little rental properties that she'd spent her 20s and 30s saving for. Interest rates and inflation combined with a massive liberal recession, all driven by Pierre Elliott Trudeau, smashed all of the things that we had worked so hard to build. Very similar to today. My folks had to scrimp and save. With a little help from my grandfather, we got a loan for a down payment on a house further out so that we could find a place to live and start all over. Hundreds of thousands of Albertans have a very similar story. But you know what's amazing? After all of that, and after all we've been through the last decade, Albertans are not even looking for an apology or compensation. They just want these things to stop happening. They are not actually looking for Ottawa for a handout. They're looking for Ottawa to get out of their way and off their backs, for the province to finally have respect within Confederation.
The opposition's job is to criticize the government, and everything that he is saying is true. Socialism is not equality. It's where the government gets greedy and wants power and control. We don't want handouts by the government. We want the government to get off our backs. He is speaking about Albertans, but this is for all conservatives across the country, all hardworking Canadians. We're not the lazy ones waiting for our government checks. We want to work, we find value from work, and we want to be able to open businesses easily and be able to succeed and buy homes and save for a family vacation. We want to have kids. We want to be able to have kids and feel like we can support our lives and our children's lives, and we want our kids to do well in Canada. We want a good life here. But the government leans way too socialist. It's disgusting, charging us $500,000 for in-flight meals, giving all of our money away to foreign aid while Canadians are literally living in the streets, couch surfing. Their job is to represent and take care of us. We don't have $500,000 to spend on your in-flight luxury meals, basically slapping us right in the face. And the media just holds water for this government. Why aren't they talking about this huge $500,000 bill that the government is sending taxpayers for them to eat luxurious meals on flights? It's so crazy that people are attacking Pierre's tone rather than attacking the people who put us in this recession in the first place. The bias is leaking out like it's insane how obvious they are. Can't be losing that government subsidy, must attack conservatives, must push liberal propaganda, must put Carney on a pedestal. Meanwhile, he is a complete failure. Like, the fact that we are in a recession is a failure on the people in charge, aka the Liberal government, and Mark Carney is at the helm of that government, so he is to blame. Now, Reuters came out with an article last night titled this: Mark Carney's trade push collides with reality of U.S. dependence. Funny how international media is now covering something we conservatives have been well aware of for over a year now. Since becoming Prime Minister, Mark Carney has been selling a vision where Canada becomes less dependent on the United States. We're going to elbows up and diversify and trade elsewhere and diversify and diversify and diversify. And America is going backwards, but we will push forward. A vision where we deepen relationships with Europe, which we already have free trade with Europe. A vision where we expand trade with other countries, like doubling our trade with Indonesia, which is like nothing. Build alliances with what he calls middle powers, all while those middle powers are like, yeah, okay, and then go on to make their own deals with America because it's so stupid not to. We need to create a more diversified Canadian economy, according to the Liberal government, and we cannot be relying on America. On paper, that sounds great. Like, yeah, we're Canadian, we're not American. Who wouldn't want more customers, right? Who wouldn't want more trading partners? Who wouldn't want Canada to have more leverage? The problem that Canada faces today is reality. Our Prime Minister has said that he won't use our leverage with the United States, yet our economy, our industries are collapsing because of the tariffs. And why are they collapsing? Because we are so integrated with the states, and the states are bigger, like 10 times bigger, and we simply cannot diversify enough to replace that, what we have with America. Reuters notes that roughly 70% of Canadian exports still go south of the border, illustrating just how dependent Canada remains on the American market. Geography, we're right beside, it's undefeated. The whole world would love to be right beside America, but here we are saying elbows up. Like, could we be a little bit more grateful? The Americans are not just our biggest trading partner, they are our neighbor. They are right there. Like, you could literally drive a truck across the border. And Europe is great, fine. But it's hard to, accidentally export something to Germany, right? If our prosperity still depends on access to American markets, then what exactly is the Liberal strategy other than to use elbows up as a fear tactic to stay in power? Are we actually reducing our dependence on America? No, we're not. It's just becoming more expensive to deal with them. It's been elbows up, we don't need America, we need to diversify for over a year now. And now what are we hearing? Well, this article coming out last night, it says, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has captured global attention by championing the idea of an alliance of mid-level economic powers that would operate beyond President Trump's increasingly protectionist United States. Yet Carney's push to lessen dependence on the U.S. is colliding with a stubborn reality. Access to American markets remains a crucial part of Canada's appeal to prospective trading partners, according to interviews with a dozen government officials and business leaders. Investors don't want to invest here already because of the government's terrible policies, but now on top of that, this article is basically saying that if we didn't have CUSMA, investors would not invest in Canada because it is because of our trade with America that makes it appealing for investors to invest here. Having free trade with America and access to the American markets is enticing to investors. But if we don't have CUSMA, then why the hell would these investors invest here? Carney has been pushing this idea that we don't need America, but it turns out that we do. And conservatives, we've all known this, right? And the news even floats the idea around that, maybe we don't need CUSMA. Yeah, well, this article really sticks it to them, right? Because it shows that, yeah, we actually do need America and the deal with America. And the deadline is July 1st. And Mark Carney has spent the last year not really looking like he wants to get a deal with America. We all know that he doesn't want to get a deal with America. But now it's coming up on the deadline and there's nothing. And the Mexicans are more advanced than we are, and they're actually making deals like on the side without us. Like they're doing bilateral deals as opposed to trilateral deals with us because Doug Ford put out that ad. Carney has been going around the world talking shit about Trump all over. And I mean, Trump doesn't like that. And Carney has not gotten a deal. And Trump has said that Canada is very hard to negotiate with because Carney won't actually negotiate. He just keeps saying that we have the best deal. He says it like as if he's the one that negotiated that deal, you know, like the Kuzma deal. He says, oh, we already have the best deal. Do we? Do we really? Do we have a good deal? And maybe it is hard to deal with America with regard to trade. You know, maybe it's sticky. I'm not saying that getting a deal is easy. But I am saying that he promised that he'd deal with Trump and that he'd build this great economy when a year later when we're in a recession. Like, you know, he's bashed him on international stages, pushed America away, made deals with China, which obviously pisses America off. He's done everything possible to get Trump and the Americans angry so Trump doesn't reduce tariffs and they can blame everything on Trump. Like, that's what it looks like to me, that they want to divert your attention away from their failed policies and their failed record and blame everything on Trump and his tariffs. So after a year of this, elbows up and all of this stuff, we're now hearing a different message. Fortress North America. Another article came out yesterday that states Canada tries to edge back into U.S. trade talks with Trumpian sales pitch. Fortress North America is Ottawa's response to being cut out of negotiations on new pact with U.S. and Mexico. The idea that Canada and the United States and potentially Mexico need to work more closely together on trade, energy, critical minerals, manufacturing, and continental security, I mean, that's the new idea? That's what conservatives have been pushing for since Mark Carney got into power. Doug Ford is now in America and says this on social media. He writes, Fortress North America is a plan to strengthen trade, secure supply chains, and create good-paying jobs for workers across Canada, the U.S., and Mexico. Together, we can build a stronger, safer, and more competitive continent that can stand up to anything that comes our way. Like, is he kidding me? No, duh. Like, obviously, we all know this. I guess elbows up are down now? I guess they realize that conservatives were always right the entire time? Conservatives have been making this argument the entire time. Not because we want, Canada to become America, but because we have brain cells. Geography matters, supply chains matter, energy security matters, and because our biggest economic advantage is that we're a part of the most prosperous continent on Earth. The question was never whether Canada should or should not trade with Europe. Of course we should. But by the way, we have had free trade with the EU since 2017. And Mark Carney I think he's in France or going to France and Ireland to deepen ties. Like, how much deeper can our ties get? They've been trying to convince us that we could somehow replace the United States, and the answer was always no. Conservatives understand that, and we also understand that a stronger Canada doesn't come from pretending that the US doesn't matter or that they're not important. It comes from building a stronger position within North America. Like, build Canada strong, actually, not in a fake way, not as just a slogan, the way the Liberals have been doing it. Like, they have not been building Canada strong. We're in a recession. We need to develop our resources, build the infrastructure, expand trade corridors, secure our borders, strengthen our economy. Exactly what the Conservatives want. Like what the Conservative Party under Pierre Poilievre would do. That's not surrendering Canadian sovereignty. That's recognizing reality. And whenever Pierre Poilievre over the last year has been saying this kind of stuff, they say that he's anti-Canada. When Danielle Smith went to Trump's inauguration, they all called her anti-Canada, like that she was against Canada or not on Team Canada. It's like, we have to deal with America whether we like it or not, because a prosperous Canada inside a strong North America is a lot more achievable than a Canada trying to reinvent its entire economic geography. We cannot do that without a lot of negativity, like we're in a recession now because of it. And Ottawa spent months talking about elbows up. Now the conversation is shifting towards Fortress North America. Like, are we replacing the slogan elbows up with now Fortress North America? Conservatives were right the entire time.
As we debate the fight for a united Canada, we must remember that those who are choosing separation from Canada are not our enemies. They are our fellow citizens, family members, loved ones, business partners, neighbors, friends. Demonizing people who have lost hope in Canada is no way to restore it. Name-calling, fear-mongering, and ostracizing will only worsen and broaden the divide. A better way is to listen, understand, persuade, and address the easily solvable problems they are asking us to fix. Nor will threats work. We should not just tell Albertans how bad it would be to have separation. Let's instead talk about how great it can be if our country is truly united and respectful of Alberta. Just as I speak to Bloc Québécois members of Parliament every day on Parliament Hill, I will be speaking to Albertans on both sides of this referendum to hear their thoughts and to make the respectful case for Canada. The goal should not be to beat one another in this referendum. It should be to unite us all when it is over, to show our fellow citizens, all of them, that they belong in Canada, that they are a treasured part of our national family. We need a Project Hope, not a Project Fear. Hope that this province, within this country, can be the richest, safest, and most affordable place in the world. That its young can have the greatest opportunities in the world. And that making Alberta stronger within a united Canada should be a big part of our national project.
And while Mark Carney is in Europe deepening ties with France and Ireland, ties which are already as deep as they can get, right? We have free trade with them. Poilievre is speaking about a united Canada. While Mark Carney is flying around the world building international relationships that we already have, or that we don't even need, Pierre Poilievre spent this week in Alberta talking about something different. Canada itself. Poilievre recently launched what he described as a campaign for a strong Alberta within a united Canada, emphasizing national unity and growing separatist sentiment in the West, because Mark Carney is not dealing with Alberta's concern. Like, we all know the MOU is a bunch of crap. There will never be a pipeline in Canada. Why? Because nobody will invest with the 9 bad laws that they are not repealing. We still have the tanker ban. We still have David Eby who can veto it. We still have the natives who are against it, and apparently we need the natives involved, right? They always need to be involved. Before Canada becomes a global leader, leading the middle powers, before Canada becomes the center of some new international alliance, while they're making deals with America, we should probably make sure that Canadians still want to stay together. Alberta is frustrated, Western alienation is real, and more people are openly talking about separation, and whether you agree with them or not, it's happening. Recent reporting has highlighted growing separatist pressure in Alberta, with federalist politicians, including Poilievre, arguing for keeping the province firmly within Canada. But what's super interesting here is that Carney's answer to Canada's challenges is not building Canada strong inside Canada, it's build more international partnerships. Let's create new economic relationships. Let's strengthen our position in the world. Poilievre's answer is, let's strengthen Canada first. Let's make Alberta feel heard. Let's develop our resources. Let's build pipelines. Let's increase productivity. Let's create wealth here and use that as leverage abroad in getting trade with America back on track and being able to look better on the world stage and have more power on the world stage. Like, what is Carney doing going around the world? Doing what? What is he diversifying? What are we selling? Like, seriously, in massive amounts that is made, like, are any of these so-called trade deals and MOUs that he's signing as abroad, what are they bringing to this country? Like, what jobs are they bringing? We're losing jobs. And then they say, well, we just got 88,000 jobs. Yeah, most of them are seasonal. Most of them are construction. Like, it's, it's so ridiculous. So one vision says, let's save Canada by attending another international summit. I think Mark Carney is actually going to the G7 summit, like in Ireland or in Europe, somewhere in Europe. I don't know. But he's going to Ireland, he's going to France to deepen ties. We don't need to deepen ties with them. We need to deepen ties with America. And the other says, maybe we should start making sure Alberta doesn't leave and that we don't lose our subsidy checks. Nobody cares about liberal slogans or hashtags, and nobody really cares about elbows up. It's just a slogan. I saw a guy the other day at the grocery store, maybe in his 40s, and he had an elbows up t-shirt, and I was like, oh my god. Like, I can't. Like, it's just, I find it so ridiculous. I would be embarrassed. So most people don't care about elbows up. Most people don't care about slogans. Most people don't care about media campaigns. I want to know which vision actually makes Canada stronger, because right now we have a government trying to reduce dependence on the United States while simultaneously acknowledging that access to the United States market remains central to Canada's prosperity. And I mean, come on, they knew about this. They knew long before, they put that elbows up slogan. Like, they know that we need a deal with America, but they wanted Trump to be the big boogeyman. They wanted to win a majority government, and they wanted to win. They wanted power and control. So they pushed this fear campaign onto the Canadian population, and that's where the elbows up slogan comes from. But they've always known that we need a deal with America, but it's almost like they want Canada to crash and burn so that they can blame Trump. Like, that's literally what it looks like to me. And now the article comes out saying that investors wouldn't invest if Canada didn't have CUSMA, and all of a sudden you've got Doug Ford in the US begging for Fortress North America. Elbows down! Maybe Mark Carney is right. Maybe Canada's future lies in new global partnerships. But I don't think so. I don't think at all. I think that Pierre Poilievre is right. I believe Canada's future starts with fixing the cracks at home. But one thing is certain. If Canada wants to be strong abroad, it better stay united at home first. Thanks everybody for listening to my episode. If you like it, please share, subscribe, and I will see you all on Saturday. Bye!